Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before I start, I would just like to ask everyone to keep their microphones muted, please, to ensure sound quality. My name is Fazete Berisha, and I manage the AgroFin webinar series here at the World Bank's Agricultural Global Practice in Washington, D.C. I'm happy to welcome everyone on behalf of the entire AgroFin team. For those of you joining for the first time, first of all, welcome. We're very happy that you could join us. To give you a quick background, the AgroFin webinar series invites agricultural finance professionals to share their insights and experience on various products and processes that work well in their respective markets. Today, we're exploring a new topic, which focuses on providing long-term investment financing for farmers. More specifically, we're going to hear from Mr. Arvind Sonmale, who has graciously accepted our invitation to share his experience with the rest of us. Arvind is the Managing Director and CEO of Sustainable Agro-Commercial Finance Limited, or SAFL. SAFL is a non-bank financial institution based in Mumbai, India. Arvind has a long career in the banking sector, spanning over 39 years old, including posts held in the State Bank of India, Export-Import Bank of India, Exim Bank in Mumbai, Global Trade Finance Limited, a finance company in India providing trade finance to the SME sector, and finally, he's been with SAFL since 2010. In this webinar, Mr. Sonmale will share SAFL's experience in providing long-term investment financing for farmers in India. He will provide an overview of the wide range of financial products that SAFL offers for farmers and focus on one of the most important products that they offer, which is financing irrigation systems. He will share with us lessons on how SAFL sources its clients, describe the process flow for drip irrigation, and go over the key criteria for credit decisions. During this webinar, you will also have a chance to hear about the special considerations that SAFL has to take into account when financing irrigation systems. Before we get started with Arvind's presentation, I would like to make a few important announcements regarding the logistics. We will start with Mr. Sonmale's presentation, which will be about 30 minutes. This will be followed by a questions and answer session with a speaker for about 20 minutes. You don't have to wait until the end to ask questions. I encourage you to write your questions during the presentation in the chat box located in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. I'll do my best to collect and ask all questions at the end of the presentation. The webinar will end promptly at 10 a.m. EST. One very important thing to remember throughout this webinar is to keep your microphones muted. This way we can ensure the sound quality. This also applies during the Q&A session because we usually get over 50 participants that join us, and we ask everyone to write rather than speak their questions. This is because we want to avoid many people speaking at the same time and then compromising sound quality. So with that, I would like to turn the mic over to Arvind, who will start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Valdit. A very good day to participants from the continents of North and South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. In the next 30 minutes or thereabouts, we will share SAFL's experience in providing long-term investment financing to individual farmers, more specifically financing micro-irrigation or drip irrigation as it is more commonly known, as also lift irrigation schemes. Why is micro-irrigation or lift irrigation so critically important in a country like India? To answer this question, let us take a look at the agricultural scenario in this country. If you quickly look at some of the statistics over here, India has 7% of the world's population and it's growing at 2% per annum. However, the land size is just 2.4%, out of which 43% is under cultivation and less than 21% of that land holding under irrigation. India has only 4% of the world's water sources, which is extremely erratic and uneven. And most importantly, 70% of the water is used in irrigation, a substantial portion, and this is a major water consuming sector as far as India is concerned. Thus, in this country, we need to secure water, food, energy, security, and to do all that, we need finance. To do this, to achieve this food security and water security, we have to go in for modern irrigation technologies. Why? Why do we need to go in for this? One, the productivity of irrigated land is very low compared to its potential. In any case, agriculture has been a decade-old activity in India, and we have been having the old, outdated methods of agriculture. To that extent, if we need to improve the productivity, we would need to go in for modern irrigation technologies. Obviously, the productivity per unit of water is very low. The traditional way of irrigation has been what is known as flood irrigation, where you take the water and flood a field, and that is the only way that irrigation has been done very, very traditionally in this country. Very commonly, this is known that the farmer irrigates the field and not the crop, because the water just percolates down into the field or evaporates, and the crop gets a very small percentage of that particular water that is given to the field. Micro irrigation ensures, or drip irrigation ensures, that the water is used very efficiently and it goes to the crop for which it is intended. And micro irrigation also allows for fertilizers and pesticides to go through the system so that efficient use of both these inputs are made. What are the challenges that we face in doing this? One, of course, is the declining water resources and acute power shortage. In a country like India, most of the power supplied to farmers is free of charge, and because of that, the agriculture sector does not get sufficient power. The power is diverted to revenue-paying users. To that extent, there's a perennial power shortage in India. The demand for land is ever increasing for industrialization, housing, commercial purposes, infrastructure, and so on. To that end, the agricultural land keeps on shrinking. The solution for these problems is that we have to go in for precision farming with micro irrigation, which will conserve both water and power. And to that extent, I think drip irrigation offers a comprehensive solution. What does drip irrigation achieve? If we were to one second, how do I do this? Sorry. If we were to look at the small chart, and these are the tests which have been carried out on use of drip irrigation as compared to conventional, let us take a crop like sugarcane. In the conventional flood irrigation, the yield in metric tons per hectare would be about 128 metric tons. If drip is used, you will get an output of 170 metric tons. The incremental quantity is 42 metric tons. What it translates into is that the income that a farmer gets in India is about 84,000 incremental income. As against this incremental income, the approximate cost of a drip is about 100,000 rupees. He pays a margin money of about 15% or 15,000 rupees, which means that the loan that he obtains from any agency, whether it's SAFL or from the bank, would be about 85,000 rupees. So one can see that within one harvest itself, he is able to pay back the entire loan as far as the drip irrigation is concerned. If we were to go down and look at cotton, there he would need at least 2 harvests for them to do it. But the real kind of bonanza is in bananas, where just in terms of drip irrigation, he gets 300,000 rupees, but the cost of the drip is 87,000, and the loan is about 75,000 rupees. So he makes a lot of money as far as banana is concerned. This is why drip irrigation is an extremely important kind of tool to increase productivity in the Indian context. The market leader or the pioneer as far as drip irrigation is concerned in India has been Jain Irrigation Systems. Jain Irrigation, of course, is globally the second largest and the largest irrigation company in India. If we were to reckon the numbers both of drip irrigation and pipe production together, Jain Irrigation is, of course, the number one in the world. They are also engaged in tissue culture, where various hybrid and grafted plants are developed in petri dishes. What you see in the picture on the right-hand side is a banana which has been the tissue culture developed by Jain Irrigation, which gives higher yield, is pest resistance, and gives the yield in much quicker cycles as far as they are concerned. Jain Irrigation has been the promoter of SAFL. SAFL really, as we saw in the beginning of this presentation, stands for Sustainable Agro-Commercial Finance Limited. That's quite a mouthful. And because of that, what we have done is we have taken the first alphabet of each of the words and then brought about the name as SAFL. SAFL is really a Sanskritized word in India, which means success. In other words, we are portraying SAFL as success for a farmer. SAFL, of course, as I mentioned earlier, has been promoted by Jain Irrigation Systems. IFC Washington is the first investor in the company with 10% holding, and recently we raised capital from a PE investor called Mandala Capital, who are focused on investing in agriculture, and they have taken up a 20% equity stake in SAFL. Currently, the equity stake is about 1.2 billion rupees, which translates into $20 million as far as SAFL is concerned. SAFL is exclusively focused on farm and farmer. We do nothing other than financing agriculture and individual farmers. And SAFL is the first private sector NBFC in India, which provides only agri loans with a wide and diverse range of financing options for every need of agricultural activity in this country that a farmer may need. Having said that, I would like to mention that SAFL does finance any activity which will increase a farmer's economic prosperity. However, as a matter of policy, SAFL does not finance personal loans or consumer loans. The objectives of SAFL are to create farmer empowerment so that he moves from sustenance farming to sustainable farming, and he has enough of prosperity to take his own decision and participate in the nation building. It is also aimed at increasing agricultural production and rural prosperity and inclusive growth. An overview of SAFL. We have been permitted by Reserve Bank of India through a certificate of registration to function as a non-banking finance company. In other words, we are supervised by the regulator, which is the central bank, the Reserve Bank of India. We have our head office in Mumbai. Then at a second level, we have 4 zonal offices. That's followed at a third tier with 24 branches. And below that, we have satellite offices. A satellite office is a one-man office with a small office space, just having a table and a few chairs for customers, a desktop and a printer, and a cupboard to keep the files. Extremely low cost in terms of our operational cost to begin with. And once it reaches a certain business level, it gets upgraded into different kind of tiers as far as we are concerned. In addition to the above offices that we have in Maharashtra state, we also operate in the neighboring states, and I'll show this to all of you on a map in the next slide. We operate at 6 locations in the neighboring state of Karnataka and 1 location in Telangana. Thus, we have a distribution network in the last 2 years which were built of 54 offices, and we have a menu of 10 main products which we are offering to a farmer and the agricultural community. If we were to look at the presence, we started off in the state of Maharashtra, which is over here, the light green one. We have then later on branched off into the neighboring state of Karnataka, as I was mentioning, and then, of course, Telangana. As we go on, our plan next year is to move to Andhra Pradesh as well as Madhya Pradesh, and then later on move on to Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Haryana over here. This is how we plan to move in the days to come. If we were to look at the location of branches in Maharashtra, this has been this is the map of Maharashtra where our branches are there, where we have populated them. As you can see, the satellite offices are with a star. The one-man offices that I mentioned, low cost. The branches are in triangles, and then, of course, including the zonal offices. In Maharashtra, we have 47 offices, and other locations other than Maharashtra, we have 7. If we were to look at the other map, that's Karnataka, the other state, we have 6 locations. These are marked by the stars over here, and 1 at Telangana. In the coming year, of course, we will populate both these states with more branches so that our distribution reach increases. We effectively started our business operations in April 2013, which is about 2 years and 3 months ago. We started with the state of Maharashtra, which was our phase 1. In phase 2, as I mentioned earlier, we have expanded in the states of Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. And we will, in the phase 3, go on to expand to Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, and Haryana. This will, of course, happen in the next year, which is 2016-17. We plan to have 250 offices in India in 5 years' time. In terms of raising of funds, during the last financial year, we raised funds of about 1.12 billion rupees, which is approximately 18.5 million rupees. This was done by a combination of equity and debt. The equity, of course, was raised at $1 million, where, as I mentioned, Mandala has invested about 240 million rupees or $4 million in the capital, with a share premium of $3 million or 180 million. In addition, they have also subscribed to unsecured non-convertible debentures, which are for 75 months with half-yearly interest payment at 10% per annum. Thus, we are capitalized at 1.2 billion rupees or roughly 20 million rupees. Staff strength, we believe in a policy where the headcount should be on a low level, but it must be underpinned by a very high IT platform. We have a very customized IT platform through which we are able to communicate with all the staff. Just to clarify, we have what we call as 1 minute. The business development manager, who is nothing but a relationship manager. These are our feet on the ground, and we almost have about 87 and 4 zonal managers. That's about 91 in the state of Maharashtra. In addition to that, we have 5 others elsewhere. These are the people who are in touch with the farmers and originating the business. In addition, of course, we have the zonal offices at 4 places: Jalgaon, Pune, Aurangabad, and Amravati in Maharashtra, and the head office in Mumbai. The total strength as on March 2015 is 147. We have a menu of 10 products that we are looking at, and each product addresses a particular need that a farmer has in increasing his agricultural productivity. We started off with micro irrigation system financing or drip irrigation, as well as the product on item 6, which was financing pipes and or motors, pumps for lift irrigation. As we went along, we added on the various other products dependent on the feedback that we are getting. Our menu is very dynamic, and depending on whatever is the requirement and the feedback that we get from our business development managers, we keep on adding to this menu depending on the requirement. Just to take a close look at each of these 10 programs that we have on our menu, the largest one is the micro irrigation system financing or for the drip irrigation. Today, 70% of a loan book is for financing micro irrigation system or the drip irrigation, as I mentioned. This is extended to farmers who need financing for installing the MIS in their farms. The tenor is usually 3 years, but it can go up to 5 years depending upon the crop that he needs it for. For instance, pomegranate, mango plantation, which have a long period before they flower and start giving returns, it can go up to 5 years. Usually for most other crops, it is 3 years. The other product that we have is farm equipment finance. We generally finance the smaller agricultural equipment like tillers, pneumatic plows, de-weeders, rotavators, and so on, which are required by farmers. Low cost, but very, very useful implements, which requires to see that there is more of mechanization and more efficiency brought into the system rather than manual labor. We also do contract farming finance. This is typically extended against a kind of a comfort or a guarantee from a third party who buys products from farmers of a certain specification. One example would, of course, be potato chips, which a company like Lay would manufacture. Another example is, of course, sugarcane factories, where they'll be taking sugarcane from the farmers and then converting it to sugar, and the proceeds are then paid to the farmer. At the request of the sugar factory, who guarantees payment of the loan to the farmer, we extend the finance to the farmer to install MIS in his fields, and when he supplies the sugarcane to the sugar factory then cuts the loan repayment installment from the proceeds and pays it on to us. One more product that we are extending to farmers are agri-project financing. This, of course, is given to farmers with a strong credit record and is extended up to 5 years. This typically include land development, farm ponds, polyhouses, greenhouses, nursery, and so on, where the investment is slightly higher and the repayment period is also a little longer. We also believe that agri-businesses in rural areas must be encouraged. In India, as the land gets fragmented with families growing and it being divided among family members, a lot of the newer generation starts migrating to the urban areas. In order to ensure that they continue living in the rural areas and yet make a good livelihood, if any of these people would like to go in for small businesses, as you can see in the picture, which could be a grocery store, a medical store, a mobile store, we would finance this business, and generally it's provided for a period of 3 years. The next product is, of course, financing pipes, motors, pumps for lift irrigation, and this product is normally given for 5 acres of land. The period is for 5 years, and it includes buying of all components, motors, pumps, pipeline, including the installation, excavation, and installation costs. We finance ancillary activities like dairy loans. Interestingly, we also finance solar module financing. Jain Irrigation manufactures solar pumps, which are extremely useful, and these are financed by us. In addition to that, most of the farmers like to go in for solar heaters for their domestic use, as also solar appliances, and this is something that we actively encourage and finance on softer terms. We have introduced products for financing agro-based industries, which are smaller firms, not large companies, but smaller firms like cotton ginning mills, jaggery units, small food processing units like tomato sauce, and so on. They are also given term loans. And finally, we also extend short-term crop loans, which are given for meeting the working capital requirements of seed, fertilizers, and other requirements that the farmer has. In short, we try and cover all the requirements that a farmer has for whatever need that he may have, except for financing him for personal or consumption loans. All these loans are in the form of term loans, and there are no kind of short-term loans which are extended to them. What is the customer profile of SAFL, the typical customer profile? On a very broad scale, we can divide the farming community in India into 5 levels. We have right at the bottom of the pyramid the leasehold land tillers who do not own the land but are leasehold land tillers. We then have marginal farmers. On the next tier, we have the small farmers, the medium, and the high end. And to put a little more light on what these are, that is shown in the next slide, as far as we are concerned. If we look at the leasehold land tillers, at the bottom of the pyramid, their average land holding is about 1 acre to 5 acres. The annual family income is less than 100,000 rupees, or about $1,200. That translates roughly into $100 a month. We do extend as long as we do have evidence that he has the lease title of that land and has been cultivating it for 3 years. In addition to that, he should be continue to cultivate it until the loan is fully repaid. The repayments in all the cases are linked to the harvesting cycle and not to any calendar year, so that because his only repayment capacity is through the harvest, he has no other income. That's why we do link the repayments to the harvesting cycle. If we look at the marginal farmer, a marginal farmer in India is defined as one who holds 1 acre to 2.5 acres, or roughly that is 1 hectare of land. The annual family income is less than 150,000 rupees, and the repayment is linked to the harvesting cycle. A small farmer on the next tier has slightly a higher land holding of 2 hectares, which translates between 2.5 acres to 5 acres. His income is less than 300,000 rupees, and the repayment is linked to harvesting cycle. Almost 90% of our borrowers fall under this marginal and small farmer bracket in terms of where our customer profile is. There are a few ones who go into project financing, the medium-end farmers who have land holding of more than 5 acres to 10 acres. Their income is less than 600,000 rupees. And then finally, we have a few high-end farmers whose holding is greater than 10 acres, and the income is, of course, greater than 600,000. But these are really few and far between. The SAFL's customer segment are all individual farmers, and they need financial assistance for whatever other activities that they are doing. Sourcing of business, the model that SAFL is employing, we are really piggybacking on Jain Irrigation's dealer network. Jain Irrigation has 1,500 dealers in the state of Maharashtra, where we have started our operations in, and over 5,000 dealers pan-India. SAFL uses the same dealer network to source clients, because whenever the dealer makes a sale, whether it's of drip irrigation or any other agriculture inputs, he does find out whether the farmer needs financing, in which case he points out to SAFL as a possible source and helps the farmer take it. A little bit more in detail in the next slides. In addition to that, our business development managers or the officers are also doing some desk research and identifying tracts where finance is required, and then follow that up for sourcing the business. Some of the activities, of course, which are very common during a local festival in any village, are people organize camps so that information on SAFL is then disseminated and awareness happens. I would like to take you through a typical process flow for financing drip irrigation, how SAFL does the financing and how does the cycle move. As I was mentioning, Jain Irrigation's dealer finalizes the choice of a drip irrigation system with the farmer. Whenever a farmer needs a drip irrigation system, he would approach the dealer and then take him to his field. The farmer will look at what is the kind of crop that he's intending to grow, and then put out a design as to what will the spacing, what will be the kind of laterals that he'll require, the various components, and finalize a design. At the same time, while making the sale, he also inquires if the farmer needs financing. Most small and marginal farmers who are our customers need financial assistance. The competitors to SAFL, of course, are commercial banks, cooperative societies, and money lenders. Banks, of course, take a very long time, although they are priced at a lower price level than SAFL, but they take a long time, and there are a lot of documentary requirements. So farmers have some kind of reluctance to go to banks. Cooperative societies are again very competitively priced, but then they are not run very efficiently. To that extent, they are not very popular among the farmers. And finally, money lenders, extremely efficient, but the pricing is very heavy. To that extent, SAFL is positioned very well, and whenever a dealer does point to SAFL, we do get most of these people approaching SAFL for the financing. The dealer not only points out, but helps the farmer to fill in the application form and then pass it on along with the landholding documents as well as the KYC documents to the business development manager of the nearest branch who is operating in that area. The application form provides for information about personal details, land details, family particulars, borrowings, assets, etc. It has. And then, of course, there are the landholding documents. These are as handed over, who checks these documents, the BDM. Thereafter, after verifying the documents, the relationship manager or the BDM will carry out a field visit, physical field visit to the farmer's house as well as his field. He'll validate the KYC details. He will also verify ancillary information like what is the irrigation source, what are the crop details, standard of living, repayment track record, etc. The number of family members. Everything is then recorded by him. If after doing that the loan proposal meets with predetermined eligibility criteria, he will then submit the above information as also a field inspection report along with the documents to the credit department at a zonal office. Our credit departments are only at zonal office and a head office, so that there's an arm's length distance while looking and appraising the proposal. In turn, credit verifies the information which is contained in the field inspection report as well as the accompanying documents. There is an independent verification from a Credit Information Bureau, which is called CIBIL. In addition to that, there are 3 other credit information bureaus functioning in India, and we are members of all the 4 as is required by RBI of an NBFC. And from this, we verify the loan payment record as far as farmer is concerned. Once this is satisfied, credit then carries out a detailed appraisal as per the scoring model that we have internally, and that is something that I'll speak about in the later slides, and finds the income levels as far as the capacity towards repayment. After the whole thing is appraised, credit will either sanction or reject the proposal. If sanctioned, credit issues a sanction letter giving detailed terms and conditions. The sanction letter is mailed to the relationship manager, who takes a printout and hands it over the farmer, obtains an acknowledgement. At the same time, a copy of the sanction letter also goes to the legal department in the zonal office. Legal department prepares the standard legal documents but fills in all the particulars: name, address of the farmer, the amount of the loan that is taken, repayment, etc., etc. And then again mails those documents to the BDM, who takes a printout and has them executed, including the security requirements such as registered mortgage of the land and the hypothecation as well as the loan agreement. Once these documents are executed, these are then sent back to the legal department for vetting, and if all the documents are in order, then legal will sign off on the proposal and pass it on to operations department, who will disburse the loan and maintain the loan accounts, individual loan accounts in our books. In addition to the above activities, the relationship manager are also responsible for collection and recoveries, and in addition to that, we have a dedicated debt collection team at select locations. Just as it is in drip irrigation, likewise in lift irrigation, this is a summarized process flow. What I did mention earlier, it is a process flow. As you can see, the dealer provides the application form and information on SAFL's products to the customers, receives the application form, helps him to fill it, and then passes on to SAFL's BDMs. They in turn will verify whether it satisfies the minimum criteria. If the due diligence is carried out by the branch staff, including filing of the field inspection report, the appraisal is done by the credit department in the zonal office. As far as they're concerned, once the sanction is carried out, legal will issue the legal documents on the basis of the sanction terms. The BDM will then get them executed with the farmer. They'll come back and the process of verification and disbursement will take place. Once legal confirms it, operations will disburse the loan. And if there are any post-disbursement documents, such as, say, in dairy finance, we need to take insurance, cattle insurance, all these would be post-disbursal documents which will be completed thereafter. The approach to credit decision is really, as you can see in this diagram, the borrower characteristics are important, the crop characteristics are important, as well as the transactional and financial characteristics. Obviously, farmers do not have balance sheets, but these are the characteristics that we look at before arriving at a decision. And these are all then input into the credit scoring model that we have. And based on that, we are then able to take a decision. To give you a flavor of what those inputs are, if we are looking at borrower characteristics, for instance, we look at the age of the applicant. If the applicant is aged close to somewhere around 60 years, we normally insist on a co-applicant who is a younger person from the family. We look at the annual family income, which is both what is the crop, is there anyone else working in the family, what are the expenditure, is there any kind of unusual heavy expenditure, like say one of the sons is studying in an engineering or a medical college. So what is the net income that the family has? What is the year-on growth in income? Is there any additional employment that a family member has? What is the total land holding that he has? We insist on a minimum 1 acre land holding. There's no upper limit. What is the farming practice? Is he a progressive farmer, or is he doing the old method of farming? And obviously him going for drip irrigation is a positive thing. And most importantly, if he has borrowed from other sources, what are the loan installments that he's supposed to pay from his income? And what is the net income which is left, out of which he'll be able to service SAFL's proposed loan as also manage his household income? These are typical some of the characteristics. These are not all. Crop characteristics, again, we look at type of the crop. We map it, of course, to the region. We cannot have a region where let us say, cereals are grown and a cash crop like sugarcane is shown by the farmer. These are, of course, validated by us. In case there is a minimum support price, in India, the government offers a minimum support price, which is a safety net to farmers. For instance, cotton as a minimum support price. If the market crashes, then the government guarantees that they'll buy at a minimum support price. So we do know, and we are assured that this is the price that the farmer will realize when he sells his cotton. We look at the cropping patterns, whether there are multiple cropping patterns, 2 yields a year, 3 yields a year. These are also taken into account. And also what will be the increase in yield after he installs the drip irrigation system. In terms of transactional and financial characteristics, we evaluate what is the loan to the valuation of a land. The valuation of the land is taken on a conservative basis. We see what is the loan taken, and as long as the ratio is not more than 1, it is accepted. If it exceeds 1, the loan is not sanctioned. The tenure of the loan, if there's any guarantor, and of course the credit information score is taken in terms of the stability.
That's interesting. Who said?
Some of the performance indicators in terms of what we have been performing. The last financial year, I've just put some numbers here, which is from 1st April 2014 till 31st March 2015. These are the numbers, and I won't go through it except to highlight that the NPAs we have are just about 62 farmers out of the total number of loans outstanding of 13,450 as on 31st March. The NPAs are just 11 million rupees or 0.7%. As far as we are concerned, we have a healthy repayment. Our average ticket size per loan is about 120,000 rupees, which translates into $2,000. Loan disbursement in the last 2 years is over 2.1 billion rupees, or roughly $35 million rupees. Total farmers we have assisted in the last 27 months, that is up till 30th June of 2050, is over 20,000. And we have broken even in the first full year of business operation. This year, we have made a profit about 40 million rupees in the year that just ended. And in the next year, we expect to increase that to about 150 million rupees. Cost, in terms of the cost, SAFL operates on a cost plus basis. We have assumed our marginal cost of borrowing at about 11%. Our yield generally is 17%, except for drip irrigation, where it is extended at 12%, because there is an interest subsidy that we receive from Jain Irrigation of 5%. Other than that, all other products are priced at 17%. Banks normally lend at between 14 and 15%. And to that extent, because of turnaround time and efficiencies there, we have a premium of 2% on the pricing. We follow a hub and spoke model. I mentioned it earlier. A satellite office, which is one-man office, is the first point of distribution which we open, low cost, and that must break even in the first year after it achieves a business of 30 million rupees. Once it achieves that level, it becomes a branch office. The investment in a branch office is almost higher, to the extent of 1 million rupees. In the case of a satellite office, it is about 100,000 rupees. A branch office, after it achieves a business level of 100 million rupees, it is converted into a sub-zonal office, where, of course, the expense on the infrastructure is that much more higher. in terms of done a very quick SWOT analysis. SAFL has a very easy and fast appraisal and disbursement process. Our turnaround time is 15 days from the time we receive the proposal and disburse it, subject to, of course, it meeting our requirements. It is underpinned by a very customized and proprietary software system. All communication is done through this system, except for the legal documents, which in India have to be paper documents. Most everything is done over the IT network that we have. We have a strong and stable dealer network, as I mentioned, which we are piggybacking of Jain Irrigation Systems, which has a presence in remote topographies also in India. And we do finance all the requirements of a farmer as long as he needs it for his productive purposes. In terms of weaknesses, we access to operating capital that always remains an issue for NBFCs in India, especially operating in the agricultural sector. Having raised the funds, as I mentioned earlier this year, we are now raising funds from commercial banks. These are being tied up, but that's always a challenge. The opportunity is, of course, the small and marginal farmers who constitute more than 80% of the total farmer households in this country. We are also the first entrants in the NBFC channel to provide an entire range of agriculture finance. The threats, the downturn in the economy, as it might happen in any country in the world. In our case, if there's low rainfall, this will have a serious impact on the business suffer. Competition, of course, from existing banking as well as rural banking channels who provide loans at a lower interest rate. And if there is a sudden spurt in increase of defaults of agricultural loans, that always remains a threat as far as we are concerned. Before I end, I just thought I would share some of the experiences, the nice ones that we had. Right now, what we are showing you is a picture of the first sanction letter. This was sanctioned 2 years ago to one Kamal by Haribhau Ugale, who is in a small village in Ahmednagar district, which is about 400 kilometers from Mumbai. She's a marginal farmer having 1.1 acre of land. She's a widow, of course, and she cultivates the land on her own by her own self. She lives in a small mud thatched house, as you can see, a 2-room place which is there. She's shown in this picture accepting the sanction letter, and I must share with you that she's repaid the entire loan in April 2015, the first sanction, and fully disbursed and repaid. Some of the pictures of business sourcing. These are where farmer meetings are held. Very quickly, they are held in open spaces, most unlikely of places that we can have, but where we can reach out and communicate with farmers. Open faces. The next picture you can see there's a temple. We also conduct meetings, as I said, wherever it is available in a temple. In a local panchayat body, in a school room. Some of our actual farmers, this is a grape farmer in Nashik, some of our dairy cattle who have purchased cattle against a loan. This is the SAFL family as it was last year. This is the snap that we have taken last year. The entire staff. And what we are really hoping to do in terms of a vision is to grow SAFL into a bank which would be one of its kind, catering to the entire range of banking services to farmers, including deposits, any kind of requirement that you have from the banking system. In sum and short, a very unique institution which will be focused on financing agriculture in India. And this is our final tagline. It's a play on the word SAFL. It says simply, Har Fasal Safal. Har is let every, Fasal is harvest, and Safal is again a play on our name as well as success. Let every harvest of yours be a success. And of course, the next line is Har Pal Safal. Let every moment of yours be successful. This remains our tagline. With this, I come to the end of my presentation, and I would be more than happy to take any questions that any of the participants would have. Thank you so much for your patient listening.
Thank you, Arvind. Thanks for the great presentation. I have several questions from participants, and I also wanted to start with a quick question that I had regarding the enabling environment. And I was just wondering if there are any government policies in place that specifically endorse or complement SAFL's ability to provide this kind of longer-term financing for farmers, or maybe impact the ability in a negative way. Is there anything that you can say about this?
Yes, Violet. In a sense, the answer would be yes and no. In the specific case of financing for drip irrigation that we do, the government of India extends a back-ended subsidy of 50% of the cost of a drip irrigation system to the farmer. The farmer obtains a loan from SAFL, has the drip irrigation system installed in his field, and out of the repayment that he has to do to SAFL, 50% of the cost comes from the government, which comes, of course, later on because it is back-ended, and it helps the farmer to repay the loan. Typically, if I may illustrate, if a drip irrigation system costs 100 rupees, we normally take a margin of 15 rupees. The government, he takes a loan of 85 rupees and installs the system. The government thereafter, probably after a year or year and a half, gives him a subsidy of 50% or 50 rupees in the example I'm giving, and that is utilized to repay the loan. Ultimately, he's required to pay only 35% of the loan, and this 35%, of course, by installing the drip irrigation system, his increased yield is enough to pay back the loan. To that extent, it is something which is very beneficial in terms of the environment, something that the government encourages the farmer and gives him incentive to go in for drip irrigation system. This is something which is very positive. Increasingly, since last year, the government has laid a lot of emphasis on irrigation as well as agriculture. In fact, the tagline of Jain irrigation, which is more crop per drop, has now become a national slogan. And to that extent, I think irrigation is getting not only a special allocation, but encouragement in a major way from the government. And that will go a long way to help SAFL in its mission of helping the farmers go in for higher production.
Great. So is there any insurance involved in this when financing drip irrigation?
The insurance is purely voluntary, Valdit, in the sense that crop insurance is available in India. But the experience of farmers in getting claims under crop insurance in India has not been very good. To that extent, there is a reluctance to go in for crop insurance. As far as SAFL is concerned, we do not insist on him taking insurance because there's a cost involved and uncertainty in realizing repayment. In the event that there is a loss of the crop, we restructure the loan and we give him one more cycle of a harvesting before he starts reaping again. That is the kind of leeway we do extend to the farmer. The insurance that he wants to take is purely voluntary. It is left entirely to his discretion and his call.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to go to some of the questions asked by participants because we don't have that much time. The first one was asked by Obadiah Biwot, who wanted to know what is the percentage of SAFL's portfolio at risk. I'm not sure if you had that in one of the slides, but this participants want to know what is the percentage of SAFL's portfolio at risk.
There are two levels in terms of the portfolio at risk. The NPAs that we have, as I mentioned, is just 0.7% of a total loan outstandings, and the amount is about 11 million rupees out of the total loans which are outstanding. This is the kind of portfolio at risk as far as we are concerned. In terms of the overdues, if we are tracking it from 1 day overdue till it becomes an NPA, the percentage is about 6%. Having said that, this is not such a high figure because this is the figure that we experience because the subsidy from the government of India is yet to come. And once the subsidy comes, because it is normally delayed, then this kind of an repayment takes place. Our experience in terms of repayment has been very good as far as we are concerned. And to that extent, the portfolio at risk is very controlled and minimal.
Great. A related question was asked by Roberto Saldana, and he wants to know if there is any monitoring process once the loan is dispersed. if you can just quickly talk about what is the process of monitoring the loan on SAFL side.
Yes. In terms of monitoring, our loan is in the nature of a term loan, and the usual tenor of the loan is 1 year to 3 years. The repayment installments are generally annual installments. So in a 3-year loan, it will be after 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months. These are linked to the harvest of the crop, as I mentioned earlier. The principal installment, as also interest, is repaid by the farmer together, and the interest is not recovered in as per the Indian practice at quarterly intervals or monthly intervals. It is recovered along with the principal installment. Before the installment is due, almost about a month before that, reminders go out both by way of SMSs as well as written letters to individual farmers as an individual alert. About a week before the due date, the phone calls go over the mobiles of the farmers from the relationship managers. In case it slips into overdues, after 15 days, there's a call made by the BDM, and if it goes beyond 60 days, then the collection team takes over and ensures that they follow up on the recovery. This is the normal process that we follow, because the repayment is spread out almost on 12 monthly basis and not quicker, whether it's the installment of principal or interest.
Right. Great. Thank you. I just wanted to remind participants, if they want to ask questions, we still have time for a couple more questions. In the meantime, Petro Bogacevic also wanted to know, I think you went over the eligibility criteria, but he asked whether there are predetermined eligibility criteria for farmers. And related to that, I also wanted to add, we often talk about gender, the role of gender in ag finance and here at the World Bank. And I wanted to know, for example, you mentioned various documentation requirements for clients, including land holdings, etc. How does that, so first of all, what are the predetermined eligibility criteria, and also what are the impacts, how that impacts SAFL's ability to serve female farmers, given that traditionally they tend to be, to not be landowners, for example. And is there anything that SAFL does to address this? Just if you can share that with us.
Yes, Violet. Very interestingly, our first borrower is a lady, as I did mention in the picture. Right. Not only a lady, because the land did belong to her. In terms of the ownership, she was also a widow, and she has repaid the loan with an excellent track record. In SAFL, we of course do not differentiate between either a male or a female farmer. We are neutral to that, and if we do have a borrower who is the owner of the land or even leaseholding, obviously we would certainly extend the finance to the person, even if it's a lady. Having said that, the social context which prevails in India, the way it is prevalent in the community, in the rural areas, even if the land is held by, the ownership is held by the lady, the husband normally manages the day-to-day function. So on paper, the borrower would be the lady, but the entire functions of cultivation would be done by the husband, who is the borrower. That is more the social kind of custom in India. Having said that, SAFL is neutral, and we would encourage both male and female farmers to borrow from SAFL.
Great. Have you seen any sort of different repayment patterns or anything like that in terms of if you're able to track loans that are given to female farmers and male farmers? There is no difference. I think they're very similar, and there is no difference which could say that this category would have a better or a worse track record. Both are almost on par. Okay, great. Thank you. So another question that I had was had to do with pricing. And I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about how much is the gap between SAFL's pricing of loans and the commercial banking, the general commercial banks' pricing of loans in the areas where you provide drip irrigation financing.
Yes. The price differential is 2% between commercial banks and SAFL. Term loans of this tenor and size are extended by commercial banks in the range of 14 and 15%, including for drip irrigation. In our case, for drip irrigation, we extend at 12%, which are more competitive than what banks offer, and for others it is 17%, which puts them at just over 2% than what banks finance. But that's the premium, as I mentioned earlier, for the quick turnaround and the efficient service that we extend to the farmers.
Great. Thank you, Arvind. I think we will probably wrap up very soon, but the last question I have is from Victoria, I think. I hope I'm not mistaken. The question, she asks whether you're looking for further funding and if you can provide your contact email. Of course, we can include that if you're willing to share your contact address. We can include that in our materials when we send the email out to our participants. We usually send the recording and the PowerPoint presentation a couple of days after the webinar, so we'll be happy if you want to share your contacts to include your email there.
Most certainly. I'd be happy to share the email contact. I look forward to hearing from them.
Okay, great. So her question was whether you were looking for further funding sources.
The funding that we would now be raising would be more from bank credit lines in India. Our requirement is really now in Indian rupees because we are lending in Indian rupees. So the funding that we would be tying up, and we are almost at finalization stage with a couple of banks, which should take care of this year's lending requirements. This will be raised from Indian banks. But if there's anything which is interesting, which is beneficial to SAFL, we could always take a look at that. Great.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Arvind. I think we've come at the end of the presentation, and it's almost time to close the webinar. I would like to open a survey for our participants, a quick survey, so that they can tell us what they thought about the webinar. If you can just give me Thank you. In the meantime, I wanted to remind everyone that we will send the recording of the webinar and the PowerPoint presentation to all participants. And if you can, the survey will appear in just a second. So, sorry about that. So there seem to be some technical problems. I apologize for this. Maybe we'll send the survey along with the PowerPoint presentation and the recording. In the meantime, I just wanted to thank Arvind one more time for sharing his time from his busy schedule to share his experience and lessons from working from managing SAFL and their experience in financing agricultural clients. And if you have any remaining questions, please visit Agrofin's website. We'll have all the materials there. We will also send them by email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you send me an email. I'll be happy to do that as well. And with that, on behalf of the entire Agrofin team, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. And again, thank you, Arvind, very much.
Thank you, Valdit, so much, and I'm thanking all the participants for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you once again.
Thank you.